One rather unpleasant guy decided to go hunting rabbits using an automatic rifle. The man never managed to hit the animal. The failed hunter moved away from his companions, and suddenly fingers closed tightly around his throat. They belonged to a huge bald man. The hunter offered his attacker money, but then remembered who he was dealing with and was sent flying off a cliff. Ryan Verrett is heading into the town of Hope, and judging by the waitress's reaction, nothing good awaits him there. The moment the local mechanic spotted the intimidating stranger, he reached for his sawed-off shotgun. But the bald man simply asked where he could find a place to stay. That hunter turned out to be a serial killer, but Ryan had gotten to him before the FBI. The coroner told Agent Satan that the maniac had been strangled to death by a big muscular guy. Now they'll have to find him. Ryan drove around town and checked into a motel. A guy walked out of a biker club and almost shot a little dog, but Ryan punched him hard and disarmed him. The bald man returned the gun and the biker immediately pulled the trigger, only to realize the magazine was gone. He got another solid punch to the face and was left lying on the asphalt. A whole gang of bikers came out of the club, led by the Salgado brothers. Rex flicked a cigarette butt at Ryan. They'd deal with him later. For now, they needed to unload a truck full of weapons. The motel manager, Darcy, was intrigued by this giant. He was either a cop or a bounty hunter. Drake and Elgato were working a punching bag. Then Drake stepped into a makeshift octagon with an electrified fence. He planned to punish a club member who owed them $1,500. One round against Drake, and the debt would be forgiven. The debtor agreed and began throwing punches, but the muscular Drake didn't even flinch. Instead, he landed a brutal punch, broke the guy's nose, then dislocated both of his arms and slammed him against the electrified fence. In Drake's opinion, the loser had just paid his debt. He ordered Rex to let him go and told Jester to keep an eye on his brother. Rex went to the lab and learned that the big guy had checked into Darcy's motel. The thug stopped by to ask her which room he was staying in. Darcy tried to stop him, but the gang member hit her so hard she fell under the table. This same creep had previously killed a woman just for rejecting him. Ryan found Rex himself and slammed him into a wall. From the motel manager, he learned that Rex was Drake Salgado's brother and that he was not to be touched. Ryan promised not to hurt the scumbag any more than necessary and tied the Mexican to the hood of a car. Just like the hunter before him, the thug finally realized who he was dealing with. Ryan gagged Rex so he would shut up. This bastard had hurt too many women. It was time for payback. Ryan floored the gas pedal. The car crashed into a wall and exploded. That same night, Drake found out he no longer had a brother. After taking another life, Ryan went to confess. He remembered a time when he still had a family. Jester was supposed to keep an eye on Rex. Now he will have to answer for his mistake. Sheriff Cole arrived at the hideout. He does not hold any real power in the town, so if a war starts here, he will not be able to do anything. Unlike his father, Hash does not want to sell out to the gang, but he is only the deputy sheriff and has to obey Cole. Darcy loaded her shotgun, expecting more guests, but it was Ryan. The girl found out that Rex was no longer alive. Darcy disapproved of Ryan's actions. The town is run by Drake, and he gets rid of his enemies in the most brutal ways. Ryan only wanted Rex, but now it looks like he will have to deal with the entire gang. Darcy's husband was killed by the bikers, so she does not mind if Ryan stays a little longer. The man has already charmed her. Hash is trying to uncover the details of yesterday's incident, but in this town, people are used to keeping their mouths shut. Agent Satan connected Rex's murder with the death of the hunter. Both men were rapists. The FBI agent is worried they might not catch the killer in time. Drake Salgado is unlikely to let him leave the town alive. There are about 36 bikers in Hope. Darcy is doing her best to flirt with the newcomer. She already invited him over for dinner. Meanwhile, bikers came to Kirby's garage and politely asked him to come with them. Drake sat the man down in the center of an octagon. The gang leader wants the mechanic to spy on the stranger and report everything back to him. To make Kirby obey, they forced him to squeeze a knife blade with his hand. Hash found out that Ryan used to be a model police officer who worked in the organized crime division. Apparently, he decided to go after criminals in this quiet little town as well. The bikers loaded their goods into 3 trucks. One of them had a flat tire on the way, Ryan's doing. He punched the driver and told him to get lost. Inside the transported bottles, the big man found packets of white powder. Ryan blew up the truck along with all the goods. Instead of a punching bag, Drake took out his rage on the guilty jester today. But it did not help, because he had just found out about the destroyed truck. Kirby snuck into Ryan's vehicle and found newspaper clippings about various criminals. The big guy caught him and came to his house. Kirby confessed that Drake had hooked the entire town on his junk. Now he squeezes money out of the residents. If an honest cop shows up, the bikers kill him right away. Ryan realizes that Kirby was forced to search his car, so he holds no grudge against him. Then Crab showed up, Drake's right-hand man. He was sure he could take down Ryan on his own, but he underestimated his opponent. The bald man smashed his face and dropped him to the ground a couple of times. Not even a wrench helped Crab. After taking several heavy blows, the biker retreated, threatening Ryan that he would regret this later. Drake found out from Cole that Ryan was a former cop. The sheriff himself does not need to do anything. The main thing is to make sure no new police officers or federal agents show up in town. Ryan drove up to the biker's base and opened his trunk, which contained a serious arsenal of weapons. Hash caught him in the act, but instead of arresting him, he offered the bald guy his help. He just asked him not to rush. Hash wanted to bring in some trustworthy people in case things turned violent. Ryan told Darcy that his family had been gunned down by a biker gang. Among them was Rice Salgado. Ryan had already dealt with him, but now the older brother had caught his attention too. Kirby tried to stay awake, preparing for a possible visit, but the gang still managed to catch the mechanic off guard. Drake told Kirby that during his first prison sentence, he had a rough time. After getting out, he dealt with every inmate who had wronged him, then with the cops who put him away, and with their families. Kirby himself was killed and hung from his own tow truck. Of course, the sheriff had no intention of investigating the murder, but the feds showed up in town. Satan was interested in the death of Rice Salgado. As expected, he got no help from the sheriff. Ryan entered the biker bar. Everyone inside immediately jumped him, but the brute beat the whole crowd without breaking a sweat. Crab pulled out a gun, but Ryan used one of the bikers as a shield, then disarmed Crab and threw him into the trunk of his car. Drake was informed of the gang member's disappearance. He stepped outside and saw Crab burning alive right in front of his club. We learn the backstory of the main character. On that terrible day, during his son's birthday party, 4 men in clown masks stormed their yard. They gunned down all the guests, the boy, his mother, and Ryan himself. But the man miraculously survived. Since then, his only goal has been to hunt down and destroy every one of the killers. Ryan quit the police force. Now he executes everyone he can get to, right on the spot. The agent learned from Hash what was going on in the town. It was time to restore order. The bikers at their club were also preparing for war. In recent days, Darcy had not let go of her gun. That night, the gang finally came for the girl, but Ryan was already there to protect her. When the uninvited guests entered the house, Darcy turned off the lights. The brute shot them all, but another one stormed in carrying a rifle. Darcy missed, but the bald guy pumped several bullets into the attacker's body. Unfortunately, another group of bikers was already waiting for them outside. Ryan was knocked out, and the girl was dragged into a van. Hash arrived at the crime scene along with the federal agents. The sheriff, however, had stepped aside and wasn't even responding to his own son. Ryan regained consciousness in Drake's lair. Darcy was there too. 3 gang members dragged her into another room. One of the bikers, the same one Ryan had beaten up first in this town, wanted revenge. It turned out he was Drake's son. He pulled out a knife, intending to slash the former cop's face. But a brute like Ryan needed to be tied up much more securely. He managed to break free and punish the thug. Soon after, a whole gang of bikers armed with hammers, axes, and knives stood in his way. Only one poor guy brought along a small wrench. Either way, they were all beaten down and stabbed. Ryan then found and freed Darcy. Hash came home and found his father dead, with a pistol in his hand. Apparently, he no longer wanted to live with the shame, but this only fueled his son's motivation. Reinforcements arrived at the station, allowing them to face Drake's army on equal footing. Ryan discovered a massive stash of contraband. A gang boss came out to meet him and admitted he was one of those who had killed Ryan's family. Drake had sent so many people to the grave that he didn't even remember Ryan right away. But since Ryan had killed his brother, Drake figured they were even. However, Ryan wasn't satisfied with that outcome. The enemies clashed. The aging boss fought almost evenly with our hero, but there's no standing against such a mountain of muscle. At first, Drake wanted to grab a machete, but in the end, he went for a sickle. He managed to slash Ryan a couple of times, but youth prevailed. The former cop disarmed the old man and duct taped their hands together, forcing them to take turns punching each other in the face. At some point, Ryan got tired of this game and punched his opponent 4 times in a row. Drake became disoriented and collapsed to the floor. Ryan turned his attention to Darcy, and at that moment, Drake nearly hacked him to death. But the bandit was shot just in time by the arriving Satan. All that remained for the cops was to arrest those whom Ryan had spared. The rest were already dead. The federal agent wanted to arrest him, but this big guy was just too cool and righteous. And since he only kills villains, he might as well stay free for now. That's where the film ends. Thanks for watching.